Hello and welcome back to Bookmark Chronicles. Today I'm doing my September and October wrap-ups. Yes, I know it's late. I don't know what to tell you, okay? This is what we're doing today. I'm trying to make up for lost time here. So we're doing a little twofer, and then I'll probably do my November and December together as well. Again, making up for lost time. So in September, I read 7 books. I had 2 DNFs and I read 552 pages, listened to 37 hours of audio. So I read 4 romances, 1 mystery, and 2 fantasy novels. 4 of the books were audiobook, 3 of them were ebook, 5 of them were adult, and then the other 2 were manga, so I didn't necessarily put them in an age category because I don't really know how that works. It was Spy Family, so I don't know where that falls. My ratings for September were 1 3-star, 1 3.5-star, 1 3.75 star, 2 4 stars, 1 4.75 star, and 1 5-star read. 4 of the books were novels, 1 was a novella, and again, 2 of them were manga. Of the 3 authors that I read for the first time in 2025, 2 of them were new to me and 1 was a repeat. September, we started off with a DNF. So Passion by Monica Walters is the first book in the Arranged Heart series, I think it's called. This is a series of stories, I'm not sure if they're novellas or full novels, but a series of arranged marriage stories that are written by different authors. So even though I DNF'd this first book, I will be attempting to continue that series. Hopefully it goes well. We'll see. Then I read volume 6 of Spy Family. This is the last one that I have physically. I did also read volume 7 and I read that digitally through Hoopla. I gave this one, I gave this one 5 stars. I gave volume 7 4.75 stars. I love the series. It's a good time. If you're unfamiliar, this is about a spy named Twilight. He's on a secret mission that requires him to have a family. So he adopts a little girl who happens to be a telepath, and his wife is an assassin. Nobody knows anybody else's secret except for the little girl because she can read minds, but his wife doesn't know that he's a spy and he doesn't know that she's an assassin, and it's a fun time. After that, I also DNF'd Cameron Battle and the Escape Trials. This is the 2nd book in the Cameron Battle series, which I believe is just a duology. Robin and I started this last year, and when we attempted to return to it, we both ended up DNFing this 2nd book. In that first book, we're following Cameron, whose parents are dead. He lives with his grandmother, but he finds this book in the attic that has this magical land in it, and he and his friends get sucked into the book. He starts to learn more things about his family and about this magical world, and he is known as the Descendant, so it's kind of his responsibility to help them out. So in the 2nd book, we're returning to this magical land, but then there's this huge side quest thrown in that just felt like it was taking away from the main point of the story, and I didn't care anymore. Not at all a bad book. Would recommend if you are a fan of middle grade fantasy. There was just too much going on for me, and I couldn't get into it. I really wanted to get to the solution of the first book, and it was taking too long to get there. Then I read Sugar Coated Kisses by Lady Marie. I rated this 4 stars. This is book 3 in the Sugared and Spice series, and I enjoyed it. In this one, we're following one of the friends that we've known for a while, Arthur. He appears in books 1 and 2, and he is meeting with this girl named Trinity, and we follow their story from there. They meet at sort of like a masquerade party. The ending of this book was very interesting. If you've read books 1 and 2, go ahead and pick up number 3. If you haven't read these yet, this is a short novella series about sugar babies, and it's a fun time. Then Robin and I buddy read Granny's Got a Gun. This was a rec that I think we got from Olivia, and it was fine. It's a cozy mystery series about a granny. She is a grandmother, and she's trying to lean into that life and in her old age with her friends and everything. However, there are things happening, and she's a former CIA agent, so at the very least, she has a little bit more common sense than our regular amateur sleuth. I just didn't care. I think I just need to stop trying to give cozy mysteries a try. I think I've tried it for as long as I can, and it's not working, and I just need to stop. Then I read The Neighbor Favor by Christina Forrest. I actually ended up reading this entire series. So The Green Sisters is a trilogy, starting off with The Neighbor Favor, where we have our nerdy little Lily who read this fantasy book that was about black elves, and she was really intrigued and inspired by this story. She absolutely loved it. However, this book is no longer in print. She looks up the author and sees that he has a website, so she sends him an email. They start emailing back and forth, and then we kind of follow their story from there. It's a bit of a tricky situation, and I'm not gonna lie, there was some miscommunication. Not even miscommunication. There was some refusal to be honest that really irritated me. This one I rated 3.5 stars. In this one we follow Lily, then we follow her sisters Violet and Iris. Yes, they all have flower names. Her parents own a floral shop. And this one I rated 3.5 stars. The second one was my favorite. I rated that one 4 stars. And that one, it is a second chance romance, right? I think it's a second chance romance. And then the third one, it is a musician and a marketing executive, so it's kind of a workplace romance. Overall, really enjoyed the series. Would definitely reread books 2 and 3. This one not so much, but would still recommend. Moving on to October, I only read 3 books, which is why I had no problem combining these two, because I knew it wasn't going to be too much. With those 3 books, I listened to 50 hours of audio. All 3 were on audio. 2 of them were fantasy and 1 was sci-fi, and all 3 of them were YA. My ratings for the month were 1 3-star, 1 3.25 star, and 1 4.75 star. These 3 books were split among 2 authors. One of them was new to me and one of them was a repeat. And if I didn't say, all 3 of the books were novels. First book that I read was The Survivor Wants to Die at the End by Adam Silvera. This is a part of the Deathcast series, and I did rate this one 4.75 stars. So this is a follow-up to They Both Die at the End. The second book that came out, The First to Die at the End, is a prequel to that. All of them are interconnected. In this one, we're following Paz and Alana. We meet Paz in The First to Die at the End. I don't remember if we meet Alana in that one as well, but we definitely meet Paz when he is a little bit younger. We're sort of following the aftermath of what happens in The First to Die at the End. I did really enjoy it. I do like the relationship between the 2 of them. However, there are some things that are just difficult in this one. There is suicidal ideation, mention of suicide attempts, and death of a parent, and just a lot. I mean, the world in general is pretty heavy. One thing that really bothered me too is that there is a line in this book that rubbed me the wrong way, and I think we're at a point where it can't really be chalked up to just an oversight. So if you're familiar with Deathcast and this world, if you've read They Both Die at the End, you get a call from Deathcast on your death day. You don't know when exactly you'll die, you just know that you're going to die in the next 24 hours, right? And so this book takes place following 2020, but in this book, because of Deathcast, people took quarantine seriously and the world only shut down for those 2 weeks and then was able to reopen. So it's kind of like post-pandemic, but not in the way that we know it, where it ended up being a much longer time than those 2 weeks that was originally forecast, and everyone followed the regulations right away and they were able to return to normalcy sooner, right? Now, given the context of everything that happened in 2020, there is a portion of this book that says something along the lines of police killings have gone down a significant amount because police officers no longer have to fear for their lives when they're on the clock. Given what happened in 2020 and the reason that there was a global protest in the middle of a pandemic, knowing that a lot of that was stemmed from the death of George Floyd, who was killed by a police officer, in a situation where the police officer literally had no reason to fear for his life. That line just felt really fucking insensitive to me, and honestly, I almost DNF'd the book because I was just like, there's no way that you didn't think about that in the context of the situation that we are actually in. So, I don't know. I think I will still read the last book in the series just because I'm curious, and it's finally going to answer the one question that I've had since reading the very first book. I don't think I'm going to pick up his other series anymore. I originally thought about it, but that's not likely to happen. With that being said, I did still rate this 4.75 stars. I do still enjoy this world. I do enjoy his characters, but that one thing really tripped me up for a little bit. So yeah, the final book is supposed to be coming out sometime in 2026. It's going to be called No One Knows Who Dies at the End. That'll probably be the last thing that I read by Adam Silvera. And then the last two books that I read were the Blood-like duology by LaSalle Sandberry, starting with Blood-like Magic. So Robin and I decided to buddy read this because it's one that has been on our list for a while. I went on to read Blood-like Fate, the sequel, myself, simply out of curiosity. Just really wanted to know how it was going to end and how certain things were going to be addressed. I rated this one 3.25 and I rated Blood-like Fate 3 stars. In this one, we're following Voya. She is getting ready to have her calling. She is in a family of witches, and so it is sort of a rite of passage where one of your ancestors comes to you and assigns you a task, and in order to find out what your magical power will be, you must complete that task. The thing about Voya is that she is very indecisive, and that is very important to know because you're going to be reminded 87 million times, okay? And Voya, despite knowing that she is indecisive, is going to be very frustrated that everyone keeps reminding her how indecisive she is. You would think that maybe she'd figure out a way to start being able to make decisions, but she doesn't. Instead, she just complains about it. And so, I don't know how much I can say. Looking at the synopsis, I can say that her task from her ancestor is to destroy her first love. And there are a couple ways that that can be interpreted, and therefore a couple different people that it could imply. The decision that she made at the end of this book pissed me off so fucking much. Like, it just really didn't make any sense to me. And so I wanted to see how that was going to be rectified in the next book, and I don't really feel like it was. And then the thing about the second book is that she's no longer indecisive. It's just that every decision that she makes is wrong now. And I'm just like, what? There's also a million different side quests happening with some of the family members and like things that I guess in the grand scheme of things were like nice to have, but were not necessary to the actual plot of the story. And so every once in a while we're going off on a side quest and it's like, bitch, you don't have time for this. You have a timeline. You need to complete your task in a certain amount of time. And it's actually more dangerous to take longer with your task. And yet you're over here dilly-dallying. Why? So I recommend, if you are a fan of witches, and it is kind of like a multi-generational story because we do have 3 generations of this family living together, and you kind of see how they interact and how their magic interacts with each other, as well as how they interact with other magical families. But it didn't need to be this long. Honestly, it could have been half this length. It probably could have been a standalone instead of a duology. That's just my personal opinion, but I didn't hate it. It wasn't terrible. I did really enjoy a lot of the characters. I did enjoy the magic. There's just too much going on. Like, I really need us to understand that sometimes less is more, okay? Quality over quantity. So that is everything that I read in September and October. Like I said, I will likely do my November and December wrap-ups together. I do have other videos that I want to try to get up for the end of the year, like my tag, as well as some end of year wrap-up stuff before I get into my 2025 and review best of, worst of, DNFs, and all that fun stuff. So let me know what y'all have been reading. Have y'all had any good reads? I've had very few 5 stars this year that were not rereads. So let me know how your reading year has been. Did it get better at the end of the year? I know a lot of us were struggling at the beginning of the year. Did it get better? You still in a slump? Are you reading at all? Let me know. Otherwise, that's all I have for you today, and I'll see you in the next video.